For this particular topic, I discussed this last week on my show, just very briefly, and it had to do with the Bill Cosby verdict. So as you all know, he got 3 to 10 years in prison, and basically a lot of people within the black community were split on it. So last week I basically said, like, listen, this guy's going to jail. He committed these acts of crime. He deserves to go to jail, point blank, period. All right? Now, I think it was earlier this week, probably on the Monday, I watched another episode of State of the Culture hosted by Joe Budden, and they were discussing this topic. And within the first 5 minutes, shit got real ignorant by way of Remy Ma. And Remy Ma was basically trying to make a case for Bill Cosby, in terms of his innocence. Now, she didn't say that he was innocent, but based on her verbiage and all these accounts that she was trying to recollect and all these points that she was making, she basically said that he was innocent or doesn't deserve to go to jail in so many words, saying stuff like, oh, how many of those women do you think were real, the ones who were accusing him? Like, do you think they're all like real accounts? Or do you know how woke this guy was back in the 60s, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? And basically, just in general, just defending him, regardless of, okay. All right, you know what? Let's just get into it. Basically, she's defending him. That's the best way I could put it. So, my thing is this. She's not the only black person defending Bill Cosby. So many black people defend Bill Cosby. So let's get one thing straight. Let's break it down, all right? So, a lot of the time, many people in the black community will defend Bill Cosby because of the fact that he was a prominent figure within black entertainment, and he broke a lot of barriers for black entertainment, particularly when it comes to television. Now, that is true. What he did for The Cosby Show was show white America, middle America, whatever you want to call it, that there are black nuclear families that exist not only in America, but all over the world, but primarily focusing on America, of course. So there are black people who live in the middle class, who have, an income that isn't fixed or anything like that. You have people in that household that make at least over $50,000, per year, et cetera, and basically showed off that positive image of a black father, a black mother, and his kids who all have a healthy relationship with their father and mother. He showed that, he exuded that, and that spun off into different shows like A Different World, for example, which is directly affiliated with The Cosby Show, and then it set the groundwork for other sitcoms like Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, like Family Matters, et cetera, the list goes on. I get that, and I respect that. But we're not talking about Bill Cosby the comedian, Bill Cosby the actor, Bill Cosby the producer. We are talking about Bill Cosby the person behind Cliff Huxtable. Cliff Huxtable isn't an actual person. Cliff Huxtable is the idea of a person, the idea that you can be a black man who's also a father and a loving husband, and the fact that you can have all those things and still have, a positive image within society as a black man. That is what Cliff Huxtable brought to the table. But Cliff Huxtable, by and large, is not a real person. He doesn't have a birth certificate. He doesn't have a passport, a driver's license, no DNA sample. He's not a real person. Just like T'Challa isn't a real person, okay? Bill Cosby is the man behind Cliff Huxtable. We get that. And we understand what his entertainment acumen is. But what he did behind the scenes is deplorable. We should not be giving him excuses because of the fact of what he did 20 years ago, 30 years ago for the black community when it comes to television and film. We can't give him that pass when for the same amount of time he was raping women. And then another thing I always hear is, oh, well, Quaaludes was a party drug back in the day, so, those were the times. We're in different times now. Listen, Quaaludes being a party drug has nothing to do with the situation. The fact of the matter remains is that he had sex with women who were unconscious, meaning that they didn't have the opportunity to consent to sexual activity. Sure, they could have taken the Quaaludes, but if they had taken one too many, then what? They can't say anything. They literally can't say anything at that point. So it's not like they planned to have sex with the man. But he did, and he said so himself in a deposition back in 2005, both written and verbally, stating that he ordered a shipment of Quaaludes for the sole purpose to drug women to have sex with them once they fall unconscious. What more do you want from that point? And then, hearing people like Remy say, oh, he probably took a plea deal. Listen. This isn't OJ back in 1991, or mid-90s rather, where we didn't have any successful black individual escape, the harsh realities of the flawed justice system, all right? It's not like we had to root for a killer, even though we knew he did it, to be found not guilty. I get it. It was a big win back in the day, but it's 2018. We have a lot more prominent black people in entertainment, or just anywhere in general outside of entertainment, besides from a Bill Cosby. He should not be the one that we champion as our savior, based on all these things. Now, let's say, I think there are 60 accounts altogether of alleged rape. Let's say 60 of them aren't real. Let's say out of 60 of them, it's 30 of them. It's still a multitude of women who are coming out of the woodworks, even though they know that the statutes of limitations are now over, and they can't do anything about it because it becomes a double jeopardy position at that point. They're still coming out and saying, yeah, this guy did this to me. After 40 years, these women have they have nothing to lose at this point. There's nothing they can gain from it. So why would they just come out of nowhere and say, oh, he did it? Why now? Why not at that peak of his powers? Why are they doing it right now? Obviously, because there's some truth to what they're saying. And then this is my favorite one. This is my favorite one right here. The reason why they want to put Bill Cosby in jail is because they were threatened at the fact that he had the ability to buy NBC, and he had enough money to buy NBC, and that if he were to buy NBC, then he would be responsible for the programming on there. And they didn't want to have any positive black programming on the major network because the white man wants to keep him down. Listen, I said this last week. I'm going to say this again right now. Bill Cosby could have the right amount of money to buy NBC. He could have double that, triple that, quadruple that. He could buy NBC 10 times over. But the fact of the matter remains, NBC is not necessarily owned by one person per se. That one person who is the CEO or the chairman has to answer to a board of directors who all have to unanimously agree on the selling and purchase of NBC. So he can have all that money stashed in the bank for a rainy day, but until they say, yes, we will agree to sell it to you, they don't have to do shit. If somebody offered you $50,000 for your car, are you going to say yes? Does that mean you have to say yes? Obviously not. You can say no, it's not for sale. Same thing for your house. If somebody rolls up and has $900,000 ready to give to you for your little brownstone in the middle of downtown Toronto, do you have to say yes? No, you don't have to. You can say no, it's not for sale. And the same thing for NBC. I don't care how many times they offer, Bill Cosby offers it to them, the NBC can still say, no, it's not for sale. It's not like a Donald Sterling situation where the NBA forced Donald Sterling to sell the Los Angeles Clippers because of the whole racism allegations. That was basically somewhat of you could say a hostile takeover. But at the end of the day, they were forced, Donald Sterling was forced to sell them because of what had happened with that whole racism fiasco. But this is not that. This is a completely different scenario where Bill Cosby, and we don't even know this to be fact. This is all hearsay. No one has come out and publicly stated and proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that Bill Cosby has the money, or had the money rather, to purchase NBC. And even if he did have the money to do so, you still need the board of directors at NBC to agree on a buyout. So all this talk about, the white man want to keep him down. Listen, bullshit, all right? Stop caping for a man who sexually assaulted and raped women. Yes, I get it, he's a black man, but that doesn't absolve him or exonerate him for any of the actions that he did from the 60s up until now. I don't care how woke you claim this guy to be. There are pastors in churches who hustle their congregations on a weekly basis, telling them to offer up their tithings to the betterment of the Lord in this church. Meanwhile, you see the pastor driving off in an Aston Martin or a Maserati, but he's doing the Lord's work. But he's woke though, right? He's woke. Same with these pastors in these Roman Catholic churches who are touching up on little boys because they swore an oath not to consummate with women. But here they are touching little boys, but we don't say shit because they're woke. They're more in tune than we are with a higher power or with anything else that may not concern us. So are we to use that same logic and apply it to Bill Cosby all because he made some good TV shows? Come on, man. I'm sorry, man, but some of y'all black people need to wake the fuck up, man. Wake the fuck up. Pardon my French, but I'm so sick and tired when black people, not all black people, of course, but some black people have to succumb to the bare minimum and say, oh, well, let's give him a chance, guys. He's the only ones that we got. No. If anything, I feel like Bill Cosby got off easy. 3 to 10 years, that is soft, okay? That is soft. And I get it. The justice system is flawed as hell. Like, there's teenage college boys getting jailed for 6 months for raping a girl behind a dumpster. And I get it. It is a flawed ass system. But we are not about to use Bill Cosby as the poster child, as an example of said flawed system. And people are still waiting, and people are saying stuff like, well, what about Harvey Weinstein? He hasn't got charged. Listen, his time will come. The accounts have come out already. This guy's under hot fire. He's preparing to sell the Weinstein Company, basically. And that's a big-ass production company. And once he sells that off, I'm sure the proper arrangements will be made in order for him to be incarcerated for all the crimes that he's committed, based on all the testimony that we've been hearing within the past year. So let's not compare situation to situation. We know the justice system is flawed, but that does not give some of you guys the excuse to champion this guy as a hero, no matter how woke this guy was in whatever era. And if the man was really out to get Bill Cosby, wouldn't he have done it, or wouldn't they have done it while Bill Cosby was at the height of his powers? Why do it now at 80 or 90 years old, however old he is, when he's relatively culturally irrelevant? Why not do it in 1988, 1992, when he still had some cachet? Man, hell, even the earlier 2000s, when he was on NBC and CNN and all these other news outlets telling black people to pull their pants up and to stop living poorly and all this other shit. Denigrating the black people. Denigrating the same people who are defending him. He was denigrating you for the longest time. And now you want to give him sympathy? Because it's now proven that he sexually assaulted multiple women from the 60s up until now? But that's the same guy who was dissing you want to defend. Are you serious? I don't know. I'm done. Listen, Bill Cosby deserves to go to jail. I'm surprised he didn't get a much lengthier sentence. I believe he should have. But hey, he got jail time. That's the important thing. I hope he does the full 10 years, to be honest, because you can't be doing that stuff. That's disgusting. Especially when you judge and denigrate your own community. It's not even the fact that he didn't even do it behind closed doors. He did it on national platforms for everyone to see, so that these white Republicans can look at him and be like, oh, see, look at this black guy. He gets it. He gets what we're talking about. I'm surprised during this whole entire time he wasn't even like a correspondent on Fox News. But hey, that's whatever. The point is this. Stop defending Bill. He rapes women. He sexually assaulted women. Over 60 women came out the woodworks and said, this man sexually assaulted me. How many of them are true? We don't know. But the fact that 60 women of all people came out and said that about him, about Bill Cosby, about a guy who has been relevant for at least 20 years now. But you guys want to defend him. The fuck out of here. You guys are mental. Some of you guys are mental for still wanting to defend this guy and for still believing that there's some truth to him not raping women back in the day. Get out of here. Listen, I went a little bit over my time on this particular subject, but I just had to get it out there. But either way, do you guys agree? Do you disagree? Let me know. Hit me up on social media at CoolRadioCC and share your thoughts. Woo!